the next pattern that we constantly see, especially with marketers who are working with built-in out-of-the-box integrations between apps. I experienced this a lot myself firsthand when dealing with leads lost from lack of recovery from errors, especially when integrating with different software between LinkedIn Forms and other tools. It's just there's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong. So if at any point you have a direct integration and it breaks for some reason, or it hiccups and there's delay, it introduces a lot of challenges. Either your leads disappear and they never get responded to, and you've wasted money on advertising that never ultimately had any connection with the sales team, or they get delayed and ultimately arrive to your sales reps once the connection is restored as this large batch of leads, and they just don't have time to respond to them all within time. And so if that happens, then reps end up cherry picking leads and only respond to a handful that they think looks the best. And again, you're spending money on leads that aren't going anywhere and aren't getting responded to. So there's a lot of different ways that this can kind of present challenges. And ultimately, if you end up in this scenario, you're essentially at the mercy of support of two different vendors. And in my experience, when this happens, the vendors will each point their fingers at each other. So your marketing automation vendor may point at whoever's the conversion point for the lead, whether it be LinkedIn or G2 or anything like that, and vice versa. LinkedIn may point their finger at whoever's integration you're using. And so it's absolutely a best practice for marketers to maintain total control of their own data with something like Workato. And I'm going to hand it back off to Bennett here, and he'll show us exactly what that looks like, and then we'll talk about it a little bit after that.
All right. So, we want to talk about also, another powerful way that you can actually capture leads, right? So we talked about G2, but we actually want to showcase, our upcoming features with LinkedIn lead gen as well. So, if you're a marketer and you're, normally marketing a B2B product, you should be pretty familiar, really familiar with LinkedIn advertising as well. So, being able to, first of all, run campaigns out of LinkedIn and, capture really, really important leads or very qualified leads based on, market targeting as well. So I'm just giving you guys a, a quick overview of how it looks like in terms of, you have an ad account, and of course it's with the ad groups and then ad campaigns. And each ad campaign can actually have different creatives as well. So, forming into different creatives. And out of the multitude of different creatives that we have, today what we wanted to really focus on was a kind of ad creative, which is basically a lead gen form creative, where you can actually basically attach a lead gen form to an ad that you want to run on LinkedIn. So how does this really look like? So, I have a preview over here of how it looks like. I'm just going to click learn when someone sees your ad and they want to click learn more over here. This is actually what the lead gen form is, right? So basically, you're able to customize all the different fields that are inside this lead gen form, being able to get more critical information about the customer or this lead before you send it on its way. And of course, that ties in well in with maybe some enrichment that you might do later on as well. So one of the great things about LinkedIn lead gen, right, is the fact that beyond just collecting some information, it actually reduces a lot of the friction for people to fill out these forms, right? So, they're working out of, when they're viewing this and they're clicking on them and they're using LinkedIn, actually a lot of the fields information that you want to capture is already pre-filled for them, so reducing the friction that it takes for them to actually fill out these forms. So let me just integrations, and let me just, showcase how that's going to look like over here, right? So with this simple and quick demo. So, over here we have, some new enhancements to our LinkedIn connector. The first one is a trigger. So it's a new advertising form submitted trigger. So this is also in real time, right? So I'm doubling down on the fact of speed to lead, right? So making sure that when a lead is captured in a LinkedIn lead gen campaign, we're actually going to start a job already and start syncing that over to your different platforms in your technology stack. So things like Salesforce and, just now we covered Outreach and also we covered Eloqua. In this case, we're covering Workato as well as the marketing automation platform. So, I'm just going to basically what happens over here when you're configuring the new advertising form submitted trigger. you can actually scope it down to either all LinkedIn lead gen forms in your whole advertising account. You can actually start scoping it down even more to different campaigns, as well as even down to a different form as well. So after that's done, this action over here really just gives us more information about what you can retrieve back from this lead gen advertising form response. So this specific lead, we're actually pulling a lot of metadata or context about this form. So things like the campaign that was run, as well as the unit cost, where it was being run in terms of what language, as well as the daily budget of this campaign. Not only that, the account that it was run under, as well as the creative as well. And we all know that while the lead gen forms, okay, so in LinkedIn, lead gen forms can actually be assigned to multiple different creatives, and we know that digital marketers, they love to do A/B testing, right? So the copy on these creatives might change while the underlying form is the same. And this actually gives you a really great way of testing, seeing which copy, which creative, which digital assets actually are converting people better, getting them to click on these forms better as well. So beyond just this information about creative ad accounts as well as campaigns, we actually have the core information, right, about the lead itself. So things like hidden fields inside the LinkedIn lead gen form, down to even just the answers themselves. So based on your custom form that you've selected, we actually showcase the data flows as well for you to map into downstream actions. So after that's a simple mapping exercise. So between to Salesforce as well as to Workato as well. So over here. So let's just take this for a spin. I'm just going to start this recipe. Just going to start testing it in the test console as well. And while this is running, I'm actually going to go over and just showcase what would the alternative be, right? So okay, maybe let me submit this first. And I just want to showcase, right, how the alternative, like, so what people do today. So, Alex mentioned direct point-to-point integrations that might happen with your, let's say, your marketing automation or your CRM tool that can actually link with LinkedIn. But the alternative is also just to, download these leads directly. So, coming into your campaign manager and then downloading these leads. And I alluded to that with talking about the context of the campaigns as well as the creative as well. So just showcasing like what we have over here when you're actually downloading these. Give me one sec. Let me just pull this down a bit so that I can showcase this. So the context about about each specific lead is actually very, very sparse in terms of the campaign ID and the account and the form as well. So this actually gives a lot of friction for marketers today when while I'm getting all the information about the specific lead, there's actually still a lot of information that's missing from that I want to do cost comparisons with, right? I want to know more about the campaign. I want to know more about the account as well as the ad as well, and be able to have that information on hand when I'm making my decisions about whether the campaign is doing well or not. So let me just delete that and come back over to this. And we can see the form already ran over here. So, just showcasing that, basically we got this new advertising form submitted that I just submitted just now, getting the form responses. So just seeing it over here, all the context information, as well as, what I actually just submitted just now, and just sending that over into Salesforce. So coming into Salesforce, we can actually see it right now. It just opened up. So I'll just click into this one, and it actually sees all the information that's just populated just now. So things about that was just submitted, and this is just at the fingertips, right, of any AE or any SDR who's actually going to come into Salesforce. They actually have all this information right in front of them. And some further down steps, and this is a very simple demo, but just to allude or just to show you how this can look like when you're actually building out even more. We talked about how we did it with Eloqua and G2, but this can actually also be done with LinkedIn lead check, right? The same trigger, which was a new lead in G2, it can also be a new advertising form in LinkedIn, and just thinking that in the same almost exact same fashion, right? So very, very reusable, this methodology and this concept and these concepts and these recipes to validate, enrich, sync it into your marketing automation platform, and then syncing it down even into Outreach as well as Slack as well. Okay. Yeah, so Alex, I'll hand the time back to you.
Yeah, that's great. We've got a question here regarding you mentioned hidden fields. The person's asking, is it possible to take that hidden field data and plug it into any downstream platform they have it connected to?
Yes, of course. So yeah, the way that we cater for it, especially, right? I mean, it represents itself as a data pill over here. So I'm just gonna showcase that. These hidden fields, exactly what they are, as well as the value. This is something that you can just easily just plug into any downstream action. So in the same way that it's a simple mapping exercise. And of course, right? So this is super useful in this context of why people use hidden fields in the first place. So a lot of times metadata about the form itself, maybe you want to route it to different people or something that you just don't want to show. You just don't want to show to a person filling out the form, but you want this is critical information for your integrations or even for your sales reps to know, and having that information synced into the lead that's created through this LinkedIn lead gen form is really, really important as well. So yeah, we've been taking the time to include this as well in the connector.
Perfect. Yeah, that's amazing. I can speak from experience that this is an amazing, valuable connection. It's uh, in previous roles, we were collecting data from LinkedIn forms, and if anytime we looked at a lead in Salesforce and saw that the lead response time was 15, 20 minutes, we'd ask why, and it was like, oh, well, that was a lead from LinkedIn. And when we collected leads from LinkedIn, it meant that it had to go through our marketing automation. Once it hit the marketing automation, because we weren't able to integrate the hidden fields, we had to append the data, the metadata about where that lead came from, so it would route correctly in a marketing automation workflow, and then it would migrate or sync over to Salesforce, and at that point it would route and go over to the rep. And so being able to do all this in just seconds and capture all this data in Workato and plug it in would have just been a game changer and would have saved tons of time and ultimately led to a lot more higher performance on those leads.